You've been feeling like something is changing inside you, as if the life you used to live no longer makes sense. The people around you keep going on autopilot, but you've started to notice things that used to go unnoticed. You started questioning the world, reality, even yourself, and suddenly this name shows up. Kybalion. Maybe it's the first time you've heard it, or maybe it's come up more than once, in videos, quotes, books, but now it's really called out to you. And let me tell you something serious. The Kybalion only appears when the soul is ready to awaken. This isn't just a book. It's a code, a portal that activates something within you. And if it found you, it's because your process has already begun. When the ear is ready to hear, then come the lips to fill it with wisdom. The Kybalion. Waking up in the morning, grabbing your phone before even getting out of bed, rushing to a job that doesn't make sense, coming back exhausted, trying to relax in front of a screen, sleeping and repeating. That's the cycle most people live without realizing it. And the scariest part is that many think it's normal. They call it routine. They call it life. But this life is actually a script, a silent program that was installed early on. Study, obey, fit in, be productive, consume. Question little. Feel less. Just follow. The problem is, this script wasn't written by you. It was programmed by systems, ideas, and beliefs that serve interests that aren't your own. It's an invisible matrix, not made of wires or computers, but of mental patterns repeated for generations. It's a field of constant distraction, keeping the mind busy and the heart asleep. Most people don't know why they're always tired, why they self-sabotage, why they keep making the same mistakes, why they're drawn to the same toxic relationships, why they suffer emotionally. And the reason is this: they're disconnected from themselves. They live with their eyes turned outward, searching for meaning in shop windows, in feeds, in other people's opinions. And in this deep sleep state, there's no room for presence, no inner listening, no awareness that reality is a constant creation coming from their own mind. Because yes, what you feel, what you believe, what you think shapes the world around you. But if you're not aware of that, you live as if you're just a piece in the game and not the player. This illusion is fed every day by fear, by rush, by the lack of silence, by the culture of comparison, by the endless need for approval. And every little distraction is like a brick reinforcing the wall that separates you from your essence. The modern matrix doesn't need to physically trap you. It just needs to keep your mind busy with the unnecessary while the essential goes unnoticed. People keep living without ever asking themselves why they do what they do, why they feel what they feel, why they believe what they believe. And because of that, they keep creating realities based on pain, lack, and repetition, and they call that destiny. Awakening is the moment something inside you screams, when you start to see the game, when you realize you no longer want to live by the imposed rules, that there's something more, that you can create a new reality based on your own truth. It's the break from collective programming. It's when you stop being thought by others' ideas and start thinking with your own consciousness. That's when the real journey begins. The true awakening. Silent, transformative, inevitable. And that's when the journey truly begins. Because awakening doesn't happen with noise or applause. It arrives in silence. In that moment when you look around and realize you no longer fit into the old explanations, when the certainties collapse and instead of fear, you feel relief. It's when you start to notice that everything happening outside of you is in some way reflecting something that's vibrating within, that the conflict, the pain, the repetition are not punishments. They are invitations. Invitations to see, to feel, to remember. True awakening is not about escaping pain, it's about giving it meaning. It's when you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this happening for?" And that small change changes everything. You begin to see that every thought has a frequency, that every emotion is a bridge, that every relationship that frustrates you is trying to show you a part of yourself that still needs to be embraced. Nothing is random, nothing is by chance, and the more you observe with presence, the more the veil of illusion begins to dissolve. You start to notice patterns. You begin to feel a kind of intelligence guiding everything, a silent orchestra where every event, every person, every emotion has a role. And this awareness doesn't come from the mind, it comes from consciousness. It's as if something inside you wakes up. A force that was always there, but had been asleep. And when it awakens, it changes the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you feel. Even if on the outside everything looks the same, on the inside, everything is already different. You start to notice small synchronicities, words that arrive at the right moment, encounters that seem to have been arranged by something greater, signs that used to go unnoticed and now speak to you all the time, and you feel it. You don't understand it with the mind, but you feel it. You know? You sense. This is the silent transformation that no one sees, but that changes everything. Because once consciousness awakens, it doesn't go back to sleep. It may close its eyes for a while, but it will never be the same. Once you see, there's no way to unsee. And that's what makes awakening inevitable. Because it doesn't depend on a master, a book, or a guru. It happens when you're ready. And if you're here now watching this video, it's because the time has come. The Kybalion as the key to the portal. And when this awakened state of consciousness begins to expand, certain names, certain symbols, certain books start to find you, and one of them is the Kybalion. But the Kybalion is not just a book, it is a key, an alchemical code that opens portals within your own consciousness. And that's why it doesn't appear to everyone. It only reaches those who are truly ready to break through the veil. Few people know, but the Kybalion was first published in 1908, signed by 3 mysterious authors who identified themselves only as the 3 Initiates. To this day, no one knows for sure who they were. Some say the author behind it was William Walker Atkinson, a scholar of occult traditions. But the name doesn't really matter. What matters is understanding that what is written there is much older than the 20th century. The Kybalion is a modern synthesis of knowledge that comes from ancient Egypt, attributed to the enigmatic figure of Hermes Trismegistus, a symbolic fusion between the Egyptian god Thoth and the Greek god Hermes. These teachings were studied in silence by alchemists, magicians, philosophers, and initiates for millennia. From Plato to Newton, from Paracelsus to Giordano Bruno, they all drank from this source, but the knowledge was considered too dangerous to be revealed openly, because it empowers, it liberates, it awakens. Now that's why the 7 universal laws the Kybalion reveals, mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender, were kept under lock and key. Because they are not just beautiful ideas, they are real forces that govern everything that exists. The movement of galaxies, the formation of matter, human emotions, the structure of time, and more than that. They are tools for inner transmutation. When you begin to understand these laws, you stop being a victim of life. You start creating. You start transforming. You begin to remember who you truly are. The reason why few have access to this is simple. Most are still asleep, still trapped in the matrix, distracted, with no inner space to absorb this wisdom. The Kybalion is not meant to just be read. It is meant to be lived. And that's exactly why, when you dive into the pages of the Kybalion, you're not just reading words. You are coming into contact with an ancient legacy that has silently crossed entire civilizations. And at the center of this legacy is Hermes Trismegistus. Called the thrice great for mastering philosophy, alchemy, and astrology simultaneously, Hermes was not just a man. He was a living symbol of the fusion between wisdom and spiritual power. It is said he lived in Egypt more than 3,000 years ago, in a time when science, spirituality, and magic were still one and the same. To the Egyptians, he was Thoth, the god of writing, wisdom, and time. To the Greeks, he was Hermes, the messenger of the gods and guide of souls. But to the initiates, he was the bridge between the visible and the invisible, the one who not only knew but embodied wisdom. His teachings were considered so sacred that they could only be transmitted orally from master to disciple. Guarded in mystery schools, protected by rituals, symbols, and codes, they spread throughout the mystical traditions of the entire world. What the alchemists called the transmutation of lead into gold, the Sufis called the annihilation of the ego, the yogis called the liberation from samsara, the Kabbalists called the union with the Ein Sof. But deep down, they were all talking about the same thing. A single process expressed in different languages, the journey of human consciousness toward its divine origin. Hermes spoke of this journey as a science of the spirit. True alchemy wasn't done in laboratories, but in the heart, the transformation of the raw lead of ignorance into the pure gold of wisdom, the transmutation of the soul, which only happens when the mind aligns with the all. This knowledge is not metaphorical, it is technical, it is precise, it has structure, it has laws, it has rhythm, and that's why it awakens those who are ready. Because it reveals that awakening is not a miracle, it is a process, one step at a time, one remembrance at a time, until you recognize with absolute clarity that you are never separate from the divine. And when you begin to touch this truth with your soul, something shifts within you. Because the legacy of Hermes did not point to distant gods, but to the divine spark that silently vibrates within every human being. The same spark that the masters called the higher self, the Hindus called Atman, the Gnostics called the divine spark. That power is not outside. It's not in the sky, not in temples, not in intermediaries. It is there right now at the center of your being. It is the consciousness that observes your thoughts, that feels the world without words, that intuits truths even without proof. It is the part of you that never ages, never dies, and always knew. For a long time, this truth was hidden. They taught you that you were small, weak, sinful, dependent on external forces to find meaning or salvation. But that was a strategy to keep you away from yourself. Because someone who recognizes their divine nature cannot be controlled. They do not live in fear. They do not bow to the system. They create. And that is exactly where the Kybalion reveals itself as a manual for activating this power. It shows that the entire universe operates in a mental, vibrational, and symbolic way. It teaches that your mind is not just an observer of reality, but the very creator of it. That everything you think, feel, and believe takes shape, and that when you start to vibrate in harmony with the universal laws, this inner power awakens. The spark lights up, the vibration rises, and reality responds. This energy has no dogma. It doesn't ask for blind obedience. It doesn't demand sacrifice. It only needs awareness. Because the more aware you are, the more aligned with the all you live, and the more aligned with the all, the more you manifest with ease, with flow, with truth. The divine power is, at its core, your right to exist as a co-creator of reality. It is the breath that gives shape to your thoughts. It is the intelligence that turns chaos into order. And when you remember that, there is no turning back. Because an awakened being doesn't ask for permission to be light. They simply are. The 7 Hermetic Laws, the hidden code that reveals how the universe works. And the more you recognize that divine spark pulsing within you, the more you begin to see that everything around you responds to something greater, an intelligent system, an invisible order, a hidden code that wasn't invented by any religion, but that is inscribed in the very structure of reality. This is where the Kybalion becomes more than a book. It reveals itself as a map, an instruction manual for decoding life, and at the heart of this teaching are the 7 Hermetic Laws. These laws are not philosophical theories, they are cosmic mechanisms, and the more you understand them, the more you begin to see the patterns behind everything. Coincidences stop seeming random. Challenges gain purpose. Life becomes a mirror of your own consciousness. Mentalism. Everything is mind. Your reality doesn't begin with what happens outside. It begins with what happens within. The universe is like a blank canvas, and your thoughts are the brush. A simple example. Think of someone you need to talk to. Suddenly, that person calls you. Has that ever happened to you? It's not magic. It's mentalism. You're constantly sending out mental vibrations that shape the field around you. Correspondence. What is within is like what is without, and what is without reflects what vibrates within. If you live in internal conflict, the world mirrors back external conflict. If your house is in disorder, observe whether your mind is as well. A chaotic environment is often a reflection of a restless inner state, and the opposite is also true. When you start to organize your inner world, the outer world responds with harmony. Vibration. Nothing is still. Everything vibrates. Everything emits a frequency. When you wake up feeling angry or afraid, the day tends to bring you more reasons to be upset. When you vibrate in gratitude, even the smallest details shine. Quantum science has already shown that thoughts affect matter. The glass of water you drink, the music you listen to, the place where you live, it's all vibration. And you're constantly tuning into or moving away from the experiences you desire based on your own frequency. Polarity. Everything has two poles, and the secret lies in learning how to move between them. Fear and love are extremes of the same emotion, just like cold and heat, doubt and faith. Alchemy happens when you choose to shift your vibration. When you transform anger into compassion, pain into wisdom, scarcity into generosity. That is real transmutation, and it doesn't require physical effort, but vibrational awareness. Rhythm. Everything in life pulses in cycles. Nature is made of seasons, the body of waves, life of highs and lows. Nothing stays the same for long. But those who don't understand this law suffer during the lows, thinking they are permanent. The wise observe the cycle and trust the movement. They understand that after winter always comes spring. That pain has its time. That expansion only comes after withdrawal, cause and effect. Nothing happens by chance. Every choice creates a consequence. Every action, a reaction. If you plant judgment, you reap rejection. If you plant generosity, you reap connection. People go through life expecting luck or misfortune, but don't realize they are living the effects of causes they themselves set in motion, often unconsciously. Awakening makes you an agent of your reality, no longer a victim of it. Gender. Everything in the universe is born from the union of two forces, active and receptive, solar and lunar, idea and gestation. That balance exists within you too. When you're only acting without intuition, you burn out. When you're only dreaming without action, you feel frustrated. But when the masculine and feminine meet within you, focus with sensitivity, drive with listening, you create. You generate reality. You manifest. These laws don't require worship. They don't demand blind faith. They only ask for awareness. They are in motion right now as you watch this video. They govern every detail of your life. Every emotion that pulses within you, every choice you make. And when you start to recognize these cosmic mechanisms at work, something changes deeply. You stop reacting to life as if everything were luck, misfortune, punishment, or chaos, and you start participating in it as a conscious co-creator. There's no more room for external blame, nor for the victim role, because now you understand the rules of the game. These laws only transform those who recognize the divine power within. By now, you've already realized that the Hermetic Laws are not just beautiful metaphors. They are invisible mechanisms that move absolutely everything, including you. But there's something most people don't understand. These laws, as powerful as they are, don't transform anyone who is still living in denial of their own power. Because knowing is not awakening. You can study all the laws of the universe, memorize every word of the Kybalion, speak like a master. But if you still feel separated from the divine, if you still see yourself as small, weak, a victim, or unlucky, nothing changes. The laws only activate when you recognize a deep truth. You are an extension of creation itself. No, this is not about religion. We're not talking about dogma, blind faith, or following an external system. We're talking about something that pulses within you from the very first moment. A silent glow, a presence, an energy that never goes out. What the ancients called the divine spark. The Hindus call it Atman. The Egyptians called it Ka. Hermeticists call it the creative principle. The name doesn't matter. What matters is that it is alive within you. This divine power is the only real bridge between you and the universe. It is the link that connects you with everything that exists. And when you vibrate from that connection, your life stops being a random sequence of events and becomes a field of conscious manifestation. You start to see synchronicities. You start attracting people who are on the same frequency. You realize that your emotions shape your environment. You feel that you're no longer alone, because you never were. The problem is that many people want to transform their lives while still holding the vibration of scarcity, fear, and doubt. They want abundance but think about debt all day. They want love but vibrate in neediness. They want peace but feed on chaos. And the universe, as a perfect mirror, can only reflect what you are on the inside, not what you pretend to be on the outside. This is where the great turning point comes in. When you activate the divine power within, something shifts silently. You no longer need to convince anyone. You no longer need to prove anything. You simply vibrate, and those who vibrate in truth transform. You stop reacting to the world's triggers and begin to respond from consciousness. You stop searching for salvation outside and begin generating healing from within. You don't ask permission to change your life. You change because you finally understand that it's possible, that it's your right, that it's your nature. And that change doesn't need to be grand at first. It can begin in silence, in the moment you choose to take a deep breath instead of yelling. In the instant, you notice a negative thought arise and decide not to feed it. In the moment, you feel fear, but align with the divine presence within and choose to move forward anyway. This is the beginning of true co-creation. It's when you understand that you don't need to fight the world. You just need to align with it, because the universe is not your enemy. The universe is you expanding. And when your vibration connects with the creative consciousness that permeates everything, reality stops being a prison and becomes an infinite field of possibilities. And when that force begins to awaken within you, something inevitable happens. Life stops being just a sequence of random events and starts to become an alchemical process. The ancients called it the Great Work. But it wasn't about turning metals into physical gold. It was about transforming the unconscious human into an awakened being. It was about using life's challenges as purifying fire. It was about recognizing that everything you rejected in yourself was, in truth, raw material for transmutation. The lead is everything you've accumulated over your life. Fears, limiting beliefs, unresolved traumas, unconscious desires, unhealed wounds. It's dense, it's heavy, it's dark, and often it's what keeps you from perceiving the light that already lives within you. But the gold is the result of the process. It's when you look at your pain and understand what it was trying to teach you. It's when you feel fear but choose to move forward with courage. It's when you stop reacting and start transmuting. It's when your mind stops being chaotic and noisy and becomes a channel of clarity. It's when your heart, once wounded, begins to vibrate with conscious love. In inner alchemy, you become the laboratory itself. Your body is the vessel. Your will is the fire that heats the transformation. Your mind is the mercury, unstable, fast but capable of rising. Your soul is the sulfur, the burning essence that drives your spirit. And the salt is the balance between all of it. It is your conscious presence in the here and now. Every time you choose to elevate your thoughts, every emotion you observe and purify, every action you take in alignment with your soul, you are moving closer to the philosopher's stone, the symbol of spiritual fulfillment, of completeness, of unity with the all. And now that you've come this far, it's no longer about seeking. It's about recognizing. The fact that you're hearing this right now is no coincidence. You could be doing anything else, but you're here. You're feeling. You're remembering. You're vibrating in something that maybe you can't even explain with words, but you know it's real. This is the call of transmutation. You are no longer asleep. You are no longer the same as you were when this video began. Something inside you has already changed. You might not yet see all the consequences of that change. But the truth is, once you see the illusion, it can no longer hold you. Once you touch the truth, it continues to vibrate within you. You feel it in the silence between words, in the chill that runs through your body for no reason, in the peace that rises in your chest even in the middle of chaos, in the quiet certainty that there is something greater guiding all of this. The Kybalion didn't appear by chance. It appeared because you were already ready. Ready to stop blaming the world, ready to remember who you are, ready to transmute. And when you start living like this, aligned with the laws, aware of your power, connected with the divine spark within you, pain becomes wisdom, fear becomes a portal, doubt becomes a path, and you become gold on the inside. And before you go, a special video has been prepared for you, a piece of content that will go deeper into everything we've shared here and show you how to apply these laws to your life in a real and transformative way. So don't close this video now. Click on the content that's appearing on the screen and let's keep going together on this journey. The Kybalion found you. Now it's your turn to answer the call. I'll see you on the other side.